You see, the beauty of this podcast is that it is real time and current, real life, and it has the potential to help you and others with practical problems, as well as stretch you occasionally, which is a good thing as well. At least I happen to think so. Anyway, this is what happens when you start hanging out with a periodontist. Just saying, most of us are like this, as far as I can tell. And for those who don't know, my name is Ben Young, and I am in private practice. I am a private practice periodontist in San Antonio, Texas. And what you are listening to right now is the Perio Patient Podcast, created specifically for my patients and anyone else who cares to listen. And just to be complete in this introduction, which I occasionally provide, I go a lot of podcasts and don't say a word about it. I do have another podcast for dental hygienists. I call that one the Perio Hygienist Podcast. And if you are not a dental hygienist, don't go there. It's even more boring than this one. And this is episode 30, if you can believe it. And I've entitled it Insurance Games. It's not the first time we've gone into insurance, but there's always some insurance games we can talk about. So in with the mail today came this letter from an insurance company. I'd give you the name if that would matter, but it doesn't, because what they wrote isn't unique to them. It is what dental insurance is in general, as far as I can tell. No one stands out per se as a great or lousy company. And as I've said before, it really boils down to the policy, not the company. Companies have different policies in the same way clothing stores have different types of clothing. Some attire is for formal occasions, and then there is the bum around the beach variety. Costs vary with clothes, and costs and coverage quality vary with policies. And I'm not necessarily advocating for more expensive insurance either. What you really need is a family friend who is an attorney who can read the different clauses within the policies to see what it is you are really getting. It's the sort of purchase where you do the best you can, but sometimes it's not possible to know for sure. But back to the letter that came in the mail. A patient had 2 dental implants placed, and the policy stated that it covers the insurance code associated with the procedure. That is to say, when someone goes to the company's website with the individual's policy number and looks up the question whether or not it covers the placement of dental implants, the answer is yes. But of course, there are exceptions to the statement buried in the fine print, not provided by the query that goes to the website. You got to look in the policy somewhere, and deep buried within, there are exceptions. Here's what came back. Quote, based on the member's benefits, an implant is a covered procedure only if determined to be dentally necessary and the least expensive appropriate treatment. Our dentist advisors reviewed the clinical documentation submitted by the provider, that would be me. As a result of this review, the allowance for less expensive appropriate treatment has been approved. And what was the approved procedure? An upper removable partial denture. So now what happens? The patient will be covering the cost that the insurance company did not cover, which will be a lot more than the removable partial denture. So let's be clear what the insurance company is saying here. To replace 2 upper teeth that are side by side, they see no problem to the patient to wear a removable appliance that extends across the mouth with clasps that hold it in place, and it comes in and out. This is the kind of treatment dentists in general would never think to recommend, unless, of course, they are paid consultants to insurance companies and have the mandate to deny as much care as possible. Do I blame these dentists? Not really. Except I would not in any way imagine that they are co-treating the patients I'm treating. They're not working with me on behalf of patients. They are working exclusively on behalf of the dental insurance company. That they have dental licenses doesn't mean anything to me. It's sort of like if you're in a courtroom trying to say that both parties are in favor of the person, the defendant, say. The prosecutors and the defense attorneys are all on one side. Never. Same here. Okay, so that's one example where insurance companies will control their costs. Here's another. It's called the missing tooth clause. Essentially, the missing tooth clause states that the insurance company will not replace a tooth that was missing at the time the insurance was purchased. So, if you are missing teeth and you think the insurance company will cover for their replacement, you need to read the fine print. Now, it should be easy to determine whether or not a policy has a missing tooth clause. If you think this, you would be wrong. Here's an example. Bonnie in my office went online to an insurance website to find out if there is a missing tooth clause on someone's policy. And the statement that came back was the following. If you can, you might want to write this down and study it. Here's the statement by the insurance company. Quote, missing tooth coverage not applicable. I'll say it again. Missing tooth coverage not applicable. Now, at first, when she read this to me, I thought they were saying that they didn't care about the missing tooth clause or there is no missing tooth clause. But we studied it further. That is not what it is saying. It was not saying missing tooth clause not applicable, but missing tooth coverage not applicable. They had substituted the word clause with the word coverage. So what this really means is that they don't cover missing teeth things. Or to be really clear, they have a missing tooth clause. Of course, the question is, why not just say it clearly? To make things clear would make it easy for people to not purchase insurance. Why would you purchase insurance if it wasn't going to cover the placement of a tooth that was missing? Clarity is not their friend. If they can confuse people and they buy the insurance policy, great. Finally, let's do one more. If you want to replace a failed tooth with a dental implant, it is routine care to remove the tooth and place a bone preservation graft that fills up the socket and do it at the same time. Then the area heals, which means your bone goes to work to replace the graft material with new bone immediately. Why not extract and then graft later or not graft at all? The answer to this is because there is a race between the soft tissues working to cover the wound of the extraction and the regrowth of bone within the socket. It is the story of the tortoise and the hare. Soft tissue racing across the surface is attempting to exclude bacteria as quickly as possible in order to reduce the risk of infections. Bone cells are slow and methodical and ultimately have to make new bone, which is a slow process. If the bone cells come in contact with the soft tissue cells, they will respectfully stop. They see the presence of these other cells as their boundary. By placing a graft, the soft tissue cells will then race over the top of the graft. If a graft is not placed, the soft tissue cells will extend further into the socket, with the net result that there will be less bone volume in the area for the dental implant. And what the dental implant needs most is bone volume. We want as much bone as we can get. So, what do many insurance companies do with regards to covering bone grafting? They limit when it can be placed. They will have an exclusion that says that they cover bone grafts except during an extraction procedure. Voila. With this simple exclusion, they eliminate coverage for most bone grafts associated with the placement of dental implants. Here, as far as I am concerned, is the bottom line when it comes to dental insurance. If you have dental insurance through an employer, great. Just make sure that it isn't the type that forces you to see only one dentist or dental group. In other words, always look for the PPO, preferred provider option, and not the HMO, which is an exclusive that forces you to see only one dental group. These people, frankly, are working for your insurance company, just like those insurance advisors. Also, understand that the insurance is a discount, and that's it. It will cover simple things. The more complicated and expensive treatment becomes, the less dental insurance will cover the costs. The least expensive dental care is to become dentally healthy and then maintain that health through preventive procedures annually. Insurance might help with some of the preventive level costs, and that's all it will ever really help with. There are insurance policies that will go a little further than this, but look at the overall cost of the policy, and you will see usually that there are no bargains. Insurance companies have been designed so that their policies will result always in a profit to the company, whether you use the policy or not. If we were describing a casino, we would state the obvious. The house always wins. Same with dental insurance companies. Finally, let me speak to those of you 65 and over. Dental and vision supplements on Medicare that don't cost anything or not much are not worth much. Look into them by all means, but read the fine print. Find out, for example, how long you have to wait before they kick in. How long do you have to pay them before they will allow you to use the policy? Look for loopholes as best you can and talk with others to find out how their dental insurance is working for them. You might be surprised. That's it for today. If you found this information useful, even though it is frustrating, I know, please share it. And please consider giving me a positive review because this improves the visibility as others search for information like this. Thanks again. Have a good one.